You're listening to Breaking the Silence, a podcast by Reach 10, where we are breaking the shame, silence, and fear that often surrounds sexuality, unwanted pornography use, and betrayal trauma, and helping you embrace your God-given sexuality with courage, compassion, and connection. I'm your host, Crishelle Simons. This is your host, Crishelle Simons, and I am breaking the silence today. Today, I'm breaking the silence that has gone on for far too long, and we are back with season 2 of Breaking the Silence. And there you have it. I am so excited to be your host this season and to share with you some of the old. We're going to have experts. We're going to have experts come on and break the silence with us when it comes to pornography and sexuality, and sharing their expertise on how to develop healthy sexuality, how to overcome the shame and the silence and the fear and the traps, the many traps that you might find yourself in. So can't wait to interview experts. We are also going to be having people come on and share their stories, and to share their stories of recovery, share their stories of developing healthy sexuality and new perspectives in their recovery journeys or experiences, and maybe share their experiences with overcoming betrayal trauma and how they learn to trust again and to heal parts of them that were broken by other people's choices. What I'm so excited about hearing other people's stories is each time I hear someone's story, I remember that we're not alone. So often we feel alone in our journeys on this earth, and we feel alone, like, oh, I'm the only one who's ever experienced this, but we're not alone. And that's a huge reason why I am so passionate about breaking the silence, is because you're not alone in your journey. You're not the only one who's felt the way that you're feeling right now. And there are so many people out there that will feel so much more courage as you share, because then they'll know that they're not alone either. And so, yes, we are going to hear people's stories, and I can't wait to interview people and to witness those stories with you. We are also going to have a new series where we're going to bring on one of my favorite people. Her name is Rachel Denton, and she is going to be our expert therapist, and we are going to interview her in an Ask a Therapist series. And those questions are going to come from you listeners. So, and a link to a question box will be in the show notes in the end of the episode, or just as you scroll down in your podcast app, as well as on our social media. I am so excited to hear your questions for a therapist. And that can be any question, specifically regarding sexuality and overcoming pornography in relationships. That's what we want to focus on, and we want to help you get your questions answered. So very excited for that series. We are also going to have a series where we are going to ask questions to and have a discussion with ecclesiastical leaders, and to find out why it's important to meet with ecclesiastical leaders on your healing journey, and what role they play in your healing and in your recovery, and how that might go. And I'm really excited for that, because I think sometimes there's a lot of question like, oh, should I talk to an ecclesiastical leader? What will they do for me? Will it be awkward? Why should I? Like, all of those questions. I feel like there's been a lot of vagueness throughout my life, for sure. I'm sure I'm not alone on that. And so I'm excited to break the silence on that and to have a powerful discussion with some ecclesiastical leaders and share that with you. So that's what's to come with Breaking the Silence. And I'm just so stoked. I'm so stoked about it. And I'm so stoked to be back with you, listeners, because it's been far too long, and I've missed this. I've missed this space, because it really is a sacred space. It's a sacred space where we're coming to find hope and to find healing. And ultimately, that hope and healing can only come through our Savior, Jesus Christ. And so I hope, as always, that this podcast can be a place that leads you to God, that leads you to our Savior. and helps you to remember that you are not alone and that you are enough and you are valuable and that you can overcome it all. And that's really what brought me back to Breaking the Silence. We decided to stop the podcast a couple of years ago, and we did. We stopped. It's been a minute. That's why it's been so long. Then a couple months ago, I just felt this big nudge from God, and the nudge really just kept pushing me in this direction and to reach out to Vana and to see where things were at with the podcast and what it would take to start it over again. In that process, I have learned a lot. I've learned a lot. It's been such a great experience. It's also been really scary for me because I was the host with Creed, who I love and miss as my co-host, and Creed is off doing bigger and different things in his life. So that's why he's not joining me for this season. But I'm used to hosting, but I'm learning so much about the back end about the recording and just the administrative stuff as well as I've taken over this podcast. And I'm so excited and I'm so passionate about this. And I want you to have it, listeners, because I once felt so alone. I once felt so alone in my hurt and in my pain and in my experience. And I remember feeling so hopeless in that aloneness. And through the years, it passed as all things do. Spring came in my life. But as I look back in that deep, dark winter of my life, that very alone, cold time period of my life, I can identify people that reached out and resources that I found that were so helpful and that provided hope that spring would come, hope that healing would happen, and hope that my faith in Jesus Christ was not misplaced, that I could be made whole. And I'm so grateful for the people and the resources that broke the silence in my life, that helped me to believe and to keep believing and to keep trusting and to keep healing and to keep peeling back the layers of hurt and to heal the core of my pain. So that's what really has driven this, is I want this podcast to continue to be that voice breaking the silence. I want there to be help for you. I want you to know that you are not alone in your journey, that you can find that springtime in your life. You can find that renewal. You can find the healing and the renewed and better and deeper relationships that you're seeking. And so here we are. Breaking the Silence is for you. Primarily our target audience are young adults. But I know that this podcast can reach anyone who is looking for hope and healing in regards to their sexuality and in regards to their relationships with other people and having greater intimacy. I want Breaking the Silence to continue to be a place where we build a culture of connection, courage, and compassion, and where we overcome together. A place where people can come and share their stories, can share their experiences, and know that no matter what comes, that they can keep going. They can try again. That shame doesn't have to continue to shackle them down. And I want you to know that, listener. I am so grateful for you. I'm grateful for your willingness to tune in and to listen. And I am so excited to share resources and experts and different things that will hopefully help you on your path to being a better person, to being a whole sexual being, being a person who is ready to be a leader and a mother or father one day. Maybe that's now. Maybe you already are a mother or father who has a kid who you want it to go better for them. You want them to have a better experience in understanding their sexuality. And in order to help them, you want to help yourself first. And that's what, again, that's what this that's what this podcast is about. It's about helping you to have all the tools and things that you need, or at least a jumping start, a place, a diving board, if you will, that will help launch you into breaking the silence in a way that will empower you to change not only your life, but future generations, to change everyone that you come into contact with, anyone that you're in maybe a leadership position with and you're in a teaching role with. And you have the opportunity to influence and to change by teaching them a different way to see themselves and to see themselves as maybe how God sees them, because you see yourself different. Anyway, I am so stoked to share these things with you, to learn with you, and for breaking the silence to once again be a resource in your back pocket or maybe your ear as you are driving around or as you're walking around or wherever you listen to us. I am looking forward to helping you and growing with you as we break the silence together. Thank you for listening to Breaking the Silence by Reach 10. Break the silence and help us create a culture of courage and compassion by sharing what you learned today with someone you love. Help us reach more people by rating and reviewing us on iTunes or liking and leaving a comment on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. Reach 10 is a nonprofit. You can help support this podcast by donating on our website and following us on social media. We share these views to open the dialogue and educate on these tough issues and to create a healthier culture of sexuality. The opinions and views shared by the host or guests do not constitute as professional advice or services and do not necessarily reflect the views of Reach 10. We do not guarantee the accuracy of any statements you hear. Reach 10 is not responsible for your use of information heard in this podcast. We keep learning and invite you to join us as we build a more open, compassionate, and courageous culture. Keep breaking the silence.